The White House is quite literally telling you which altcoins you should be researching, if not buying, right now. In case you missed it, Donald Trump was pictured endorsing the White House digital asset report to usher the golden age of crypto earlier this week. And they mentioned a ton of different altcoins. This includes Bitcoin, Ondo, Ethereum, Solana, Matic, Avalanche, FTM, CeeLo, Optimism, Base, Arbitrum, Hedera, Chainlink, XRP, and Terra Luna. Now, there's a lot that they break down in this report. Thanks to ChatGPT, we can look at this report, which is over 100 pages long, and get a summarization. The overview of this report from Executive Order 14178 was issued on January 23rd, 2025. From that executive order, the working group was tasked with proposing a regulatory and legislative recommendation within a 30-day deadline to support reasonable growth of digital assets. Now, in this 166-page digital asset report, 391 mentions of crypto were in there, 130 mentions of Bitcoin, 32 mentions of DeFi, and 28 mentions of Ethereum. If you think crypto is dead, you are crazy. So as Bitcoin pulls back, here are the products I would be watching that are in this report to potentially accumulate. Starting with Ondo Finance. They came out on X earlier this week and said that we are honored that Ondo was featured in the White House report by the President's Working Group on Digital Asset Markets. Of course, focusing on tokenized securities, stablecoins, and programmable settlements. Now, according to them, the report highlights tokenized funds and stablecoins as core infrastructure for modern markets. And they believe their role in this next chapter includes unlocking access, making the United States assets globally available via fully backed compliance first tokenized products, powering 24/7 markets, bridging TradFi and DeFi. And the White House literally used Ondo as a representation for an issuer between traditional financial assets and tokenized financial assets, explaining the entire tokenization landscape. So if you want to bet on a product that has connections not only to the White House, to institutions, but is also spearheading the tokenization revolution, Ondo's going to be one of those key players. And that's proven as Paul Atkins, the head of the SEC, the chairman, dropped a speech today on American leadership in the digital finance revolution. Now, we can't confirm necessarily that Ondo is going to be the sole issue here for what the SEC is calling the Project Crypto. But the SEC wants to onboard all assets on-chain. And what the White House saying Ondo is quite literally the platform for this. Let me know in the comments. Are you bullish or bearish on Ondo? Now, in the report, there is tons of other projects and companies mentioned. You have people talking about Litecoin, Ripple, and the progression from 2008 to where we're at today with tokenization. And you'll notice on my post on X here that they did mention products like Luna, FTM. They even mentioned FTX, but more importantly, in reference into what doesn't work. The next product to be mentioned multiple times in this report was Chainlink, where the White House discussed the power of an Oracle network and the need of what it does in terms of orchestration for on-chain data. Followed by a decentralized exchange you guys all love and know, Uniswap. And even Plume, an RWA platform we like that's pretty underrated, got mentioned as they straight up linked a source from Plume on rwa.xyz. Now, of course, all of this is great, but is the United States government actually going to be participating in buying these digital assets? Well, here's what Bo Hines, the man in charge of this entire report, says about a Bitcoin strategic reserve and their thoughts on this report to the White House.
Any plans to purchase Bitcoin? Is there anything new that you have to share here?
Well, look, I've said repeatedly, we want to accumulate as much as we can possibly get in these budget neutral ways that are outlined in the SBR executive order. We also have the Digital Assets National Stockpile, which gives credence to other ecosystems and what's being built elsewhere in the space. As the president likes to say, we have very smart people in the administration that are working on this. I think that we'll move on ways of accumulation that can be implemented most expeditiously. And I think that people will be very pleased with what we come up with. But I also encourage people just to understand that there's an infrastructure piece of this as well. And Treasury is working diligently on that, making sure everything's set up properly so that we can move forward in the best way possible.
Yeah, and I guess what I would add is the executive order that the president issued on January 23rd really tasked the working group to making fulsome recommendations on the legislative and regulatory perspective for creating the best environment for the industry to thrive in the United States. That's really sort of the core competency and importance of this report. Separately, there is a different executive order, as Bo just mentioned, relative to the digital asset stockpile and the strategic Bitcoin reserve.
And the one thing I will add to that as well is, we love Bitcoin. We understand it's unique. I think we've said that repeatedly. Bitcoin is digital gold, and we're going to continue to beat on that drum over the course of the next few months.
And there you have it, the White House report for digital assets and a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Let me know in the comments if you believe this is bullish or bearish for the future of crypto, and let me know which altcoins you believe the White House should actually be paying attention to. Because as you noticed, they didn't mention projects like Polkadot or Cardano or ICP. So let me know what you believe they should add into the digital stockpile.